Bastian, perhaps I can start with you. I know you'll have done this many times, but just talk us through. You and Frederick Omai received this dump of huge material for the Panama Papers initially, but you decided you needed to take that out to the ICIJ and to collaborate globally. Talk us through why and what some of the issues were around that decision.
Well, we had many reasons. When I started looking into it, I was looking for stories from Germany, and I was really desperate because I didn't find any good German stories, and my bosses were not happy about that. But at the same time, we found the best friend of Vladimir Putin, having billions there, and he was a cellist who said in an interview with the New York Times that he doesn't own millions, maybe he meant billions, he does so. And we found the acting Prime Minister of Iceland, and so we realized it's not a German leak, and it's very international, and we were lacking the methods and the knowledge to really explore those stories. I neither speak Russian nor Icelandic, so I couldn't do the stories. So we needed people on the ground, and we had worked with the ICIJ before.
So you published over a period of days. It had huge impact after a year of very complex work and the rest of it, and then presumably quite hot on the heels of that, you get the Paradise Papers leak. Was that a oh no, I thought we'd escaped all this, or was it a oh well, we know what we're doing now, let's just carry on?
Well, it was kind of both. I have to admit that in the beginning I was like, of course, the next leak, sure. And I thought, how likely is it that it's again me, it's again us, and it's again good? So I was very skeptical, because in the first weeks after the Panama Papers, we received hundreds of messages, saying this is the next Panama Papers, and it was of course all crap. So, but we had to read it, and we had to talk to people, and then we received one of these messages. Obviously, said there's another big leak from offshore.
Brilliant. Okay, Rachel. So the Bureau for Investigative Journalism here, wasn't as closely involved in those stories, but as a model, it's based on collaborating with mainstream media organisations, basically as your collaborator to help listeners partners. So, how much is collaboration? What have you learned about collaboration, and to what extent do you think it is, a growing model for how you have impacted investigative journalism?
Okay, so I think the first thing I would say is, wow, the world has changed so much. I've been a journalist for over 25 years, and I think in the past decade, this idea of collaboration has just come on so far. I'm from a traditional print background, and 10 years ago I worked in a news environment where the word collaboration was literally a swear word. It was an environment where we wouldn't even walk into the lift where there was somebody from the sister newspaper in case they somehow magically managed to steal our notebook or suck out the story that we're working on from our brain, let alone if we were caught having a coffee with somebody from said sister paper. So, we've gone from that attitude, and this wasn't a sort of a unique attitude for the paper that I worked on. It was, the same situation. Even on the same newspaper, reporters wouldn't talk to other reporters in case they stole their byline or their story. So we've moved from that space to a space now where competitive journalists are in the same room, spending a whole year working on the same story.
Great, okay. And you've worked for a big media organisation, the BBC, you've worked for an NGO, Transparency International, you're now working for a network, essentially. Yeah. You write in the book about the growing importance of journalists collaborating outside of newsrooms with other kinds of organisation. What are some of the issues that arise in doing that?
Okay, I just wanted to start by saying that one of the things that inspired me in a way that led to the whole idea of collaboration when I was working in Transparency International, and we joined up with a journalist network called OCCRP. It's the Organised Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. To those who don't know it, it's fantastic, and I would look it up. It really does brilliant work. But what one of the inspirations for me was actually when I was working at the BBC. When I worked with ICIJ, again they come back, and this is well before the Paradise and Panama Papers, and we jointly did an investigation into the continued use, among others, but one in particular stayed with me, of the continued use of white asbestos and also the continued marketing of white asbestos. And it did all the things that we've been talking about, brought different experts together from very many different countries and so on and so forth. And our objective, of course, was about the journalism. And it published in something like 250 global media around the world and in about 20 languages. But that's not really the point of the story. The story for me then became really, really interesting when I watched to see what activists did with the findings. And I watched to see health activists and trade unions and politicians in countries like Mexico and Brazil, Canada, India, and how they used some of the findings. And it was very much incidental at the time, I have to say. We did our stories and that was what we were there for. But in the corner of my mind, I really wondered about the impact this kind of work made and what might happen if you could be slightly more systematic about the way you use the information that was generated without at all touching upon the journalism you were doing.